Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first of many Lunch and Learn. I am Jurema Gorham, the founder and executive director of Burst Into Books, and I am so excited for today's conversation. I won't be before you long. I just wanted to be able to give some tips, some strategies for parents, for educators, and really today is going to be around mindset. And so, as you come into this talk, do know that that's the focus of today is mindset, because I believe before we can get into any strategies, teaching methodologies, when we come to best practices, you got to have the right mindset first. And so I came with this topic because as I've talked to educators, as I'm talking to parents, many of us are really just trying to figure out this whole remote learning and how we can best set up our homes to be supports to our children. From an educator side, again, a mother, which you'll learn about in a second, but I'm also an educator, and I know that also parents are trying to figure out how they can best support their students, right? And so I'm going to come to you with some different things I want us to consider as we are starting to create safe spaces and best spaces for our children. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive right on in. Right on in. Again, like I said, I won't be before you long. However, this is a conversation. So I'm going to present first. And then as I'm presenting, if questions come up, if there's things that you want me to address afterwards, if you have specific questions in regards to you and your children, put it in the comments. And once I'm done presenting, I will then respond to it. So let's jump right in. So today's topic is 4 ways to best support your child during remote learning. Cool. Who am I? So before we get into those topics, some of you may be familiar with me, others may not, and you may, in some cases, wonder, how can she help me? How can she provide us best strategies? Who is she? What is her background? And so this is just a very quick snapshot of who I am and all the different amazing hats I get the honor to wear. First, I'm a mother. I have a 9-year-old son. We call him Trey. His name is James David Gorham III. And through being his mother, I have learned a lot about how to, of course, raise from being in my belly all the way up to being 9. But he also has experienced different learning settings. When Trey first entered into education, we put him in a Montessori school. He was in that Montessori school up to 4 years old. We then transferred him to a private Catholic Christian school where he stayed there up until last year. He then attended a public school. He tested into a public school. And then this school year, I have actually decided to homeschool him. So as far as how I connect with education as a mother, I have seen it in all different settings, and I know the benefits and some of the challenges that may come with each setting as well. So as we explore more topics, do know that I'll be coming from a perspective as a mother who also has had her child in various learning settings. I'm also a business owner. So for those who are working and juggling multiple things, I understand. I am the business owner. I am the founder and executive director of Burst Into Books, which is a non-for-profit. And I'm also the owner of Remixing the Narrative LLC. And so I am a full-time educator, but I'm also a full-time business owner. And as I'm building my 2 businesses, and I just absolutely love it. However, you can just imagine being a single mom, also a teacher, along with the business owner can be a lot. So I understand the juggle of time. I'm also a community organizer. So I work a lot with the schools, with libraries, with other non-for-profits and for-profit organizations to create opportunities for people in neighborhoods, specifically on the south side of Chicago, but also throughout the city. And so I understand working and trying to organize and plan, and also when you're trying to organize and plan your own house, okay? And then I'm an educator. And so as I've been doing this work with Burst Into Books, this is the hat that I'm really excited about doing more work in. We have done work when it comes to nonprofit work, when it comes to our events, when it comes to our different programs that we offer at Burst Into Books. However, the education hack is the hack that I really am looking forward to doing more work in. I have been in education since 2008. In 2008, I got my degree from Chicago State University. My bachelor's degree is in elementary education. My focus is in language arts, social science, and self-contained general education. So since 2008, I have had the pleasure of working in many different classrooms. So I'm currently in my 13th year of being a teacher. In those 13 years, I also got 2 masters. One of my masters is in differentiation and instruction. And the second one is in education leadership, which is a professional educator's license. So I do have credentials to be in administration in education as well, which I've had the honor and privilege to do as well. And I'm currently in a PhD program in which I'm studying curriculum and instruction. So next year, you should be able to call me Dr. Gorham. So I'm super, super passionate when it comes to education, when it comes to creating curriculum, when it comes to creating programs that are truly going to benefit the students that we serve. I went and got my master's in differentiation because I really believe in creating and customizing the work we do for the child you're serving. Whether as a teacher, I had students in my classroom who were below level. I had those who were above level. I had those who were more visual learners. I had those who auditory, kinesthetic, and I wanted to be a teacher that can be able to fashion my classroom in a way that can best serve all of those different groups. So again, I'm super passionate when it comes to this work because I believe that it matters, and I believe that it's important that we have programming that serves those individuals. And then in those roles, I have been not only a teacher, but I've been an advisor. Along with being an advisor, I've also been a dean of instruction. So I have been an educator when it comes to teaching. I've also been involved in education when it comes to being an administrator. So I have served in leadership positions in which I had to train teachers, whether in the arts, STEM, physical education. I also led different grade levels. And so I've been a teacher leader, not only just an admin, but just being in the classroom and being a teacher as well. And then I also have trained new teachers in a way in preparing them to be their best selves. And then I was a new leaders alum, which was a teacher leader preparation program. The reason I share all those things is because in being in those roles, I was able to not only understand education from multiple perspectives. So the strategies I'm about to share with you are not just a mother who thinks that this is what their parent need, just a community leader who thinks that's what their children need, or just an educator who's here to tell you this is what you should do. When I speak from all 3 roles at the same time. Okay, I do not take off one hat to do the other. And it's important that we go into this work with that as well. I think a lot of times when we make decisions about what's best for children, we're only wearing one of those hats. Even in my classrooms, I'm considering I have someone else's child in my classroom. I'm also a part of their village, right? And I'm here to educate them. And I want you to consider the same thing when you're thinking about what's best for your child. Sometimes we think, okay, to support them when it comes to remote learning, I have to take off my mama hat. I can't be as loving. I can't be as nurturing. I got to become an educator right now because this is the seat I'm in. And so I need to just be kind of like hitting them with the whip. I need y'all to get this together. But no, you need to be all things at all time. And it can be draining and it can be difficult, but it helps your heart and your mind to be in the right space. I believe that because I approach these next steps with these 3 things, always a part of who I am, I'm able to make the wise decisions that will help the families and the children that we serve. Before we get into the 4 ways that can best help your child, let's consider this graph, okay? What matters during this time? You may or may not be familiar with this graph, but this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So when we think about what a child needs, we always start at the bottom and we work our way up. When we look at the bottom, there's physiological needs. There's food, there's water, there's warmth, there's rest. These are the things that all humans need. When we get to the next level, and these are called our basic needs. We have safety and security, right? Those are things that we consider. So before we can get to safety and security, first are my physiological needs being met. Do I have food? Do I have water? Do I have warmth? Do I have rest, right? Those are our basic needs. We then move up to belongingness and love needs. That is where we have intimate relationships and friends. Once we are able to, and again, when you look at this diagram, this isn't sectionals, right? It isn't like, okay, I got my physiological needs met, done with that, move on to the next. No, these are things building upon one another. We first have to make sure that what's at the bottom is taken care of, and then we can add on. So once we can make sure we have our physiological needs met, we can then consider our safety needs. After our safety needs are met, we then move on to our physiological needs, which are belongingness and love, right? Intimate relationships, friends. We then build on. Okay, now that I have that, I can build on esteem, prestige, and feeling of accomplishment, right? But again, I couldn't get to esteem needs until I had the other three below me done. And then at the top, I believe is where a lot of times we want to start with when it comes to education is self-actualization, right? This whole idea of achieving one's full potential and including creative activities. This is self-fulfillment needs. I start off this talk with this because a lot of times we think in order to get to the top, we don't need to really consider the things at the bottom. And I'm here to argue that that's not true. I believe that over the last 13 years as an educator, I have educated over 1,000 students. And the reason I believe that I have been able to create a classroom, even with Bursts Into Books, a program, even in my community organization work, a field of village work, is because I understand all of it matters. So what matters during this time? All of it. And what most importantly matters is what's at the bottom. And if those things are getting taken care of, there's no way you're going to get a child who feels self-fulfilled, who feels like they've accomplished what they needed to do in school. If I cannot know that my safety and security isn't set and in place, there's no way I can focus on your classwork, right? If I don't feel like I have relationships or I have friends, right? And think about remote learning has really stripped a lot of that security and that normancy that they are used to. Even the relationships they have with their teachers is twisted. I'm really big about relationships, and that is how I teach through. It has been a little bit more difficult as an educator this year because I don't see their faces, right? We're not in the same space. We're not able to work together in small groups. It's really, really built upon us building relationship through the screen. But think about how much more difficult that is for a student who's trying to learn a content, and for me to just be a full person, that matters. Okay, so parents, I want you to take like an inventory looking at this diagram and seeing, okay, first, before I start getting on my child about not turning their assignments, with not getting in on Zoom on time, going and check their Google Classroom. And then, yes, there is a whole nother conversation of responsibility. I know we have different ages, so we may have a kindergartner versus a high school student. We may feel like that high school student can do some of this stuff by themselves. They should know how to get to self-fulfillment needs on their own. But I'm here to argue that whether your child is 1 day or 19 years old, they need all of these at all times to be their full selves. So I want you to think about what matters during this time is all 5 of these levels of hierarchy of needs. So let's get into what are the 4 ways that I believe that we need to just really make sure that we are supporting our students in the best way possible. The first thing that you need to consider is growth. What are the best ways you can help your child during this time is to acknowledge all growth. All growth. Okay, this image I felt like was so befitting because it shows like the progression of this plant, right? Going from seed all the way to blossoming. And I believe in growth, we need to take inventory and provide opportunities to learn. So a lot of times during this time of remote learning, traditionally how children are learning how to master skills has not been the same, right? So maybe they had an after school program, maybe they had one-on-one support. So if your child has an IEP and they, needed that extra assistant, even if your child was in a gifted program or what we consider just on level, there is opportunities for them to learn. They had projects, they had after school activities, they had all these different things that were allowing them to be able to explore. You need to take inventory of your learning space at home, and does your child have that same opportunity? And again, not all the time you're going to have the supplies, right, to do a lab, like if they were in science, or maybe an instrument if they were in music class. But because of this virtual world, we're able to connect in a way that is so beautiful. So I would just say take inventory. When I say take inventory, talk to your child and really think about, okay, before the pandemic, what were some of the activities that they were in, and what are programs and who are people still doing that work? Or maybe the program they were in has just turned virtual, and it's just about mindset, right? Again, mindset shift. Yes, we're in a pandemic. Yes, things are going on, but growth is so important. If we're not growing, what are we doing? Right? We're stagnant, right? And things are dying off. So we want to continue to water opportunities. So take inventory, think about your child. What are some of the things they're really interested in, and provide opportunities for them to learn it. I've even pushed some of my high school students. For many of them, they're like, I don't know. But hey, what didn't you always tell me you want to do a podcast? Yeah, I had a conversation with one of my students. This is a perfect opportunity for you to learn how to do your own podcast. There's YouTube videos, there are tutorials, there are free websites, right? Pumping them up, right? Having that conversation. She left that conversation saying, you know what, you're right. Because normally, if we were in our normal schedule, I wouldn't have the time to just kind of sit back and watch videos and plan out my strategy and what I want to talk about. But now, instead of seeing this as a downtime, she saw it as an opportunity to learn. Right? Think about what your kids are interested in and give them opportunities to learn. Trey is really into anime and drawing and stories. And so we have put together like, hey, before we get out of this, before the school year is over, we need to have a comic. So I bought him one of those sketchbook that's like in comic formation, right? We started looking at online programs that would print his comic every day. I'm excited. I'm telling him to tell me about the character development. Again, I'm taking inventory of my child. My child is a creative. And if I don't give him opportunities to be creative, he's not going to grow. He's going to go down. And celebrate the small and the big wins. Our kids need to know that we notice them. Early on in the pandemic, I did a community town hall in which I had a panel with educators, administrators, parents, grandparents who are raising grandkids. And I just asked them, hey, how is remote learning going for you? And it was really great, beautiful conversation. And then the following week, I had a panel with nothing but students. I had the youngest student was a kindergarten all the way to a junior in college. And the one thing that I would say was an underlying theme that each child said on that panel is that they felt like all of a sudden they weren't being noticed, right? Things just shifted. It became like, did you submit this? Did you do this work? Did you do X, Y, and Z? Versus really caring about their mental health or caring about what's going on, or even seeing the little wins that they did. It just all became very robotic, and they didn't like that. They didn't like the disconnect. And so what I say by that is celebrate small and big wins. What I mean by that is maybe your child has been still struggling when it comes to doing their work online, or maybe getting online, but say maybe for this week, for the last 2 or 3 days, you notice that they've gotten up by themselves, that they have got on by themselves, or they got their materials and they're engaged in their classrooms. Let them know you see that. Celebrate that, right? Small wins lead to success, right? Those small wins become big wins. Those big wins become, man, I feel accomplished, right? Remember, we went back, intimate relationship, making sure you feel safe, right? This is a learning ground for us all. And so as parents, I celebrate your small wins as well. Okay. Maybe today you were able to work with your child longer than you did the day before. Maybe only 10 minutes more than you were the day before. That's a win. That's a victory. Maybe everybody was able to get up on time for class versus only 2 or 3 of your kids. That's a win. That's a victory that you should celebrate as well. So as I'm telling you things that you should be doing for your child, in turn, I'm saying stuff to you as well. Take inventory of yourself, parent, and think about what are opportunities you can use this time to grow in and learn. The same way we're pushing our children to do the same. Parents, I'm telling you as well, celebrate your small victories and celebrate those small victories, because as they pile up, they become big wins. So we need to celebrate our kids' big wins as well. And set goals together, right? I'm really big about goal setting, and goal setting in a way that's not intimidating, right? It's been this whole thing of like, you got all this time, you should have did this by now, you should have did this by now. No, everyone's journey is their own journey. And so I would ask you to sit down with your child and ask them like, hey, what's some things that you want to do? What's some things, and it doesn't have to be goals. It could be a goal, one goal, right? I'm not even going to put the pressure of having multiple goals that you're trying to create, but at least having something you're working towards each day. I'll share again from my mother hat. Trey really wants to have a YouTube channel. And I know that's a lot of work. I know that it takes a lot of time and planning. And my son is 9, but it's something he really is into. And I know we see our kids on YouTube and we're like, oh, get off of it. But what I had took inventory in is that my son is a creative. He loves technology, and he's finding something in this time that he's become more and more passionate about. And so he doesn't just want to watch YouTube. He's watching it to see their editing programs. When they mention something, he's going to look up that site. He's looking at the types of programs people are creating. He is looking at what are their taglines. I created for him a Facebook page under my account with his own graphic, because he wants to start making t-shirts. He has this whole thing, right? And so I sat down with him and set goals, and he got excited, and I'm tying it in, which I'll get to in a second, to his schoolwork, because I'm like, oh, you got to plan out. You got to come up with your schedule. You got to have content. You got to make sure that it's clear. You got to make sure that you have a goal, that you outline what you want to do. And so we set a goal, and he set up a schedule, and we sat down together to put that schedule together. And every day I'm holding him accountable to it. Okay, you said you're going to post on Monday. Did you do this part already? Oh, right. And then he's holding me accountable, because I have goals that I have set. And so he checks in with me. Set goals together. Let them know you're in this growth game together. They will be appreciative of it. They will be excited about it. And it gives them something to do. No one wants to be idle, right? You may feel like your kids are just on the TVs doing X, Y, and Z. But what fire have we given them to be excited about something, right? I have to look at, I'm 37, my son is 9. If I was not during this time, how motivated would I be probably right now? Be real with yourself. They're the child, you're the parent. So how can you support them in a time where it's very difficult? So set goals together and check in with each other. And then last but not least, what do you want to make sure is passed on to your child? I don't believe all learning has to be just academic core subjects. There are some character skills and characteristics. Let me take that back. Characteristics. There are some life skills that I need my son to know, and I know matters. And again, you heard my whole spiel earlier of what I do and my education and all of that, and all of that matters. But also, I know real world, and I also know how those different contexts and those different contents will be used in the real world. And there are certain things I just need him to know to be a well-rounded, critical thinker, problem solver that crosses all disciplines. So one of the things I want to make sure is passed on to my child is being wise with his money. Okay, that matters. I did not become, and this is not because of lack of teaching, because my mother definitely told me not to have credit cards and all that. However, I had to learn the hard way. There are certain habits, though, that I want him to learn early on. And so I'm taking this as an opportunity to teach him that. Think about some of those things that you really want your child to know. Another thing I really want my son to know is how to cook, because he loves to eat. Okay, he loves to eat. And so when I'm cooking dinner now, because of this pandemic, I've been cooking more, which is a great thing. I have him along with me. He's helping me cut up the chicken. He's helping me when we're looking at Instacart and picking the groceries. He's helping me with that. I want him to see that. I want him to know we have a budget. And so, oh, we can't get this time. We got to stay in budget, right? I want to teach him money habits, and I want to help him in making wise decisions when it comes to health. He's been working out with me, right? There are certain things I want passed down to him. I want health to be wealth to him. I want him to care about his health. I want him to understand why we care about our health. When we hear about the vaccines and things like that, we have those kind of conversations, and I let him know we need to have strong immune systems, and this is how we do it. I know you want to eat that, but that's not going to help you. We need to be able to think about what are the things we want to make sure is passed on to our child. This is gold mine timeline for us, you all. When will we ever have this much downtime with our family members, especially our children? Think about these 4 things when it comes to growth, and trust me, this is a core principle that truly your child needs when it comes to remote learning. The next thing is stability, and I'm going to go through the next ones a little bit quicker than I did the first. So stability is what matters. Remember, when we think about those hierarchy of needs, safety and security, okay? I want you to think about January 2020 versus January 2021. Already, even when I made this presentation, you all, I did not consider some of the things that's already happened in January, but just the fact alone where I was as a person and what I was doing last January is so drastically different than what I'm doing this month, right? Think about that for your child. Your child yearns and needs stability. Their world, just like yours, has been flipped on its head. And they need for us as parents to provide stability for them. Community matters. More than ever, you need your village, parents. Your child needs stability. And if that means pulling in other people to get involved, then you need to do that. This is not a time for pridefulness. This is not a time to act like you got it together. This is not a time to act like I could just Google it. This is not your time to be frustrated indoors and no one else knows. Community matters. I'm so big about the village. You need to be talking to the people that's a part of your community and how can they help with your child, right? If they need some mentoring, let's think about some mentoring programs so they can stay stable. If they need, you work a certain hour and that means your child is all over the place, but you could honestly talk to someone who could step in during those hours so your child isn't all over during remote learning, let's do that. Let's provide stability. There's something about waking up every day, same spot, same place, and I know it's going to be there, right? I don't have to wake up and say, where am I going to be today? Where am I going to be tomorrow? Again, you all, I'm also understanding that all of us have different circumstances, right? I'm also the mother of an only child. I know that's different for a parent who may have multiple children. But what is not different is that those same children, versus whether they're my son or your child, they need stability. And whatever way that we can do that and make that for them is going to be all the better. And again, you need your community to be a part of it. Routines matter. Routines matter. I told you this year, I'm homeschooling Trey. Routines matter. What has helped us is that we have created a schedule, and that schedule is not something I just created and said, hey, follow it. We actually created it together. We created his chore schedule. We created, when it comes to his learning, what things need to happen during the day. It helps him to know that he can wake up, look at his calendar, and I wrote down the things we're doing for the day. It helps him to know, okay, these are the chores I'm responsible for. Let me check them off. Routines has helped him. Early on, I'm going to be real honest. I was real tired. I was real stressed out because I was trying to figure out what's going on in my own classroom, in my own life. And so it was okay for him to be in there playing his video game. Okay? You do you while mama trying to figure out her. I realized I was being a disservice to him. And so I realized early on, routines not only matter for him, but it matters for me. Even if the routine changes week to week, we got to have some kind of stability going on. Days start merging together. Times don't matter. Bedtimes out the door. That stuff does not work. Okay? It cannot feel like it's summer break all year. Routines matter. Even if the bedtime's a little later, even if certain days it happens that way, it can't be consistently what happens. Stability needs to happen for your child, especially, and I won't even just say especially for younger children, even for our high schoolers, they need stability. They need routines. They need to know some things are going to be like clockwork, okay? Flexibility matters too, like I said. So sometimes, no, those routines are not going to work. And that's hard if you like me, because I'm a planner. And so when things don't go as planned, it can kind of help me. It can kind of hurt that I'm used to things just kind of going a certain way. But if anything has taught me in the last year is that you don't make the plans. You just better go along with the wave. But at least you had a plan in the first place, so you're not just all over the place. So I would say, even when you make that routine, no, it's not going to work all the time, but be flexible and allow your child to be flexible as well. Okay, allow them to kind of have a say so on how things go as well, because stability is a teamwork. It's not just a dictatorship. I'm telling you what to do, but you actually are working together. Yeah, that's the last thing for that one. Let's keep going. Oh, and seek help. As I said earlier, make sure you seek help when it comes to figuring out what you don't know and what you do know, even seeking help with mental health. Okay. And I want to make sure I definitely harp on this. This has been a very, very, very overstimulation of information time for your child. Early on in the pandemic, just to be transparent, me and Trey, I was already going to a life coach, getting some, coaching for myself. But I realized that my son was becoming very anxious, especially in the early part of 2020, when we had a lot of the protests and the killings and, all the bashing from the news. And he was seeing all of this, right? Not because I'm having him sit down and watch the news, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And he was getting scared, the pandemic, coronavirus, what does this mean? Now, the other day, he saw the stuff at Capitol Hill, just constantly things that were stable are becoming unstable in front of their eyes. They need you to check in with them and also get them help when they need it. I've had kids in my high school class that have told me, Gorham, I couldn't log in today. I had a really rough night last night. And what I tell them is that your health matters. I appreciate you letting me know. How can I help you? Right? I've had my own son tell me, Ma, can I just read today? My mind is kind of out of it. And I know he's serious, right? I know he's real about that, and I'm going to respect that. Earlier, like I said, in the pandemic, he had some stuff where he was actually scared for me to leave the house. He didn't want me to leave his sight. And I had to keep him with me. He wanted to call me constantly. And I couldn't just let that moment be like, shake it off. You'll be all right. I had to take heed to it. And so I actually did seek some help for him so he could talk to somebody and get some help and get some clarity. Again, mental health stability matters for our kids during this time. Safety, as I talked about before, safety first today, and it may be too late tomorrow. Safety matters. Are my needs going to be met? Okay. Make sure what matters during this time of remote learning, like I said at the bottom, are they eating every day? Are they getting significant, a good amount of sleep every day? Do they have warmth, right? It's getting colder. Do they have the clothes they need? Again, that matters. Did they do their homework? Yeah, that matters. Did they eat? That matters a little bit more. Okay. Did they eat? That matters more. Did they get a good night rest? Did that happen? If that doesn't happen, they're not going to be their best in that remote learning classroom. And how dare we be mad when they're slouchy and they don't want to focus and they're not able to be engaged, is because their basic needs that need to happen first are not being met. It's okay. Is it okay not to be okay? Your child needs to know that it's okay for them to have an off day. We as adults have off days. And we want people to give us grace. We want them to listen to us. You want them to give us an extra day. We need to do the same. So what I'm speaking to now is not just parents, but educators, community leaders who work with the youth. Is it okay not to be okay? Our kids are wondering that. Like, you could be mad, but I can't be mad. You could be off, but I can't be off. If I'm off, is it okay for me to say that? Are you going to listen to me? Or are you just kind of brush it off because I'm too young? I don't pay bills yet, so that don't matter to me. No, it matters to them, because guess what? They're living through it and they see it. So is it okay not to be okay? You need to make sure your child knows that it's safe for it to not be okay for them. and that they can be able to share that with you so that they don't feel as if they are starting to be a burden or something's wrong with them because it doesn't feel okay to them. It doesn't feel okay for you, so let them know it's okay if it doesn't feel okay for them. And provide clarity of the times. Me and Trey had a conversation the other day just about what's going on right now. He sees it happening on the news. He's like, Mom, what is happening? Okay. What is happening? And I just have to provide clarity. Like right now, we're going through some stuff about our country being uncovered, right? And we've known about it for a while, and we just had a real conversation, like, when it was the elections. What's going on? Okay, right now it's election time. You're probably going to see a lot of stuff coming from this party and that party, and this is the reason, and this is kind of the history behind it. Okay, the vaccine. If I tell you all every day, at least once a day, my son tells me we're not taking the vaccine. Okay. Last night we was in the car. He's like, Mom, we are not taking that vaccine. And I had to just remind him, I get it. Because guess what? There's a history when it comes to people of color, when it comes to vaccines. We're not just out here don't want to take vaccines because we don't want to be well. But I also had to give him two sides of the coin because I am a science teacher, just teaching him about, okay, this is how testing for vaccines go. And I know people are scared. And I know you probably see information on TV and X, Y, and Z, but this is what they're doing. That's why they have these trials. And this is what's happening. You may not want to be a part of the first trial. I get it, because this is what usually happens in the first trial. But just like you got your chickenpox vaccine, just like we got the measles, just giving him clarity. By me giving him that clarity, he may not right away say we're going to go get the vaccine, but it did give him a new perspective about it, right? So many times our kids they're misinformed, just like some adults. And so giving them that clarity gave him safety. The vaccine didn't feel like such an angry and scary word anymore, right? So right now, a way that you can help your child with remote learning is seeing if their needs are being met when it comes to that safe space. Letting them know it's okay to not be okay, and provide them clarity, right? Provide them clarity. They see people climbing walls, protesting, and doing all this. Rioting, because that was definitely not a protest. They see killings. They see death tolls going up with coronavirus. You need to provide clarity. Provide clarity. Of course, you may not tell them certain things depending on their age, but you need to give them some information, because I beg to differ that our kids are way smarter than you know. You may think your 5-year-old don't know about what's happening in certain areas. I'm sure that they do. Communication. Communication is huge when it comes to providing a safe space for remote learning. And communication is not all verbal. There's nonverbal communication. So if you see at the bottom, what's the one thing that you could do with your child that will help them best in remote learning is doing daily check-ins with your child. This graphic, we're not going to go through everything, but again, it's super important that every day you check in with your child. Every day. There are times when it has nothing to do with school. Trey is in his room, or he just walked past me in the kitchen. I'm like, hey, you okay? Yeah, I'm good, Mom. Or if I walk past and he's, sitting there and he's playing with his toys or on his iPad, I'm just like, hey, what are you doing? Show me what you're watching. What you thinking? Doing those check-ins is so important, because we can literally be in a house with folks and have no clue of what's going on with them. You could be in the house with, and especially if you have multiple kids. I grew up with me and my brother, my mom, and there were times when, yes, I saw my brother, but that doesn't mean every single day we was in the room chopping it up. And I can see how it can be easy for you to be in a space with somebody and yet didn't have a conversation with them at all. That should not be the case when it comes to our children. Every day we need to check in with them. Just because they were good on Monday morning don't mean they're okay Monday night. Just because they went to bed okay, you don't know what they woke up because what they were dreaming. Check in, check in, check in. And these are all the things to consider when you're checking in. Listen carefully. Listen for what they're not saying, not just what they say. Okay? Listen for what they're not saying, not just what they say. Maintain eye contact. You should not be checking in with your child and you on your phone. You should not be checking in with your child and y'all watching TV. You should not be checking in your child and it looks like it's just something you're just asking just to ask. Avoid distractions at all costs. Do not interrupt them when they're speaking. Allow them to share with you what it is they're feeling and what's going on. Be clear while you're speaking. Be clear about what you're asking. You're not just asking how you're doing just for the sake of it. Be clear, like, okay, so how are you doing? How you feel physically? Like, be clear about what you want to know. How you feel emotionally? Ask those questions. Be confident. Be confident. Don't ask in a way that you already feel resistance from your child. I may be speaking to you and you may not feel like you have the best relationship with your child. I also know by teaching, when kids are in their earlier years, they're a little bit more open because they're just talking. But as they get older, middle school, things start changing. You may feel like, oh, there's some distance between us. Still be confident. Your child wants to know that you care. Focus on the nonverbal communication cues. Notice if you start seeing them a little bit more in their room. Notice if you see that they're not talking as much as they used to certain people, right? Be more aware about what's happening around you and be a soft-spoken person. Don't nobody want you yelling at them, so you don't want to talk to me? I asked you a question, you didn't hear me talking? I don't know if I want to answer that question, mom, dad, grandma, auntie, uncle, whoever it is that takes care of me, right? It's all about the way you deliver your questions as well. And then represent the information in short. Meaning, don't ask long, drawn questions. Just have regular conversations, right? Just kind of just dig in, see what's going on, and be open-minded. You may be surprised at what is shared with you, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't matter because it matters to them. Cool? So those are my 4, right? Really, really, really quick recap. Growth, stability, safety, communication. Those are the 4 things your child needs during remote learning. Guess what? Those are the 4 things your kid needs, period. Guess what? Those are the 4 things you need as well as a parent. So how can Versatile Books help? So first thing, you should join our mailing list. So if you go to www.versatileBooks.org, you can join our mailing list. And after going over these 4 things, these are the ways that I know that we are committed to helping you, helping schools, helping the community. You may or may not be aware of these programs and services that we have. So do go to our website to learn more. The first thing is, starting on Monday, I will be only sending out to our mailing list a weekly academic game plan. So if you go to our website and go under educational resources, when we first went into remote learning back in March, I was sending out weekly game plans every week. I have a total of 8. It started the first week of March and ended at the end of last school year. I didn't start it up this school year just because we were back in place. Many people were kind of stable, but I want to go back to starting those weekly game plans and have them really more focused on activities and strategies and resources, nonverbal communication, that I talked about you should be aware of, the verbal things that you should be listening out for, giving you those kind of strategies as an educator and parent. I also want to connect you with other organizations who will provide services. However, I don't want to just mail it out to anybody and just post it on social media. So it will be sent through our mailing list, again, because there will be some hyperlinks and some other resources. So if you would like to receive this weekly academic game plan, it will have activities, it'll have all types of things that you can use as a parent, educator, and community member. Go to www.versatilebooks.org and sign up for that. And as you can see, those weekly game plans will provide stability for you. It's a safe mode of getting this information and knowing that the resources that we give are going to help towards growth, and it's going to be communicated every single week in a way that you can be secure about that. Also, we host and have been hosting since the inception of Versatile Books our book club sessions. And those book club sessions happen monthly. This year they're virtual. They are from 6 months to high school, and we meet every third Saturday of the month. What's been the beautiful thing about this is because we are online, we are able to provide it in a way that all are welcome. So even if you do not live in Chicago, you could be a part of it. We have had not only guest authors, but families be a part of our book clubs that are not in the city. And it's been amazing. And it's been a really great time. And our next session is actually next Saturday, January the 16th. If you go to our website, you will click on events, and you will see book club. You will register on there. We will add you to the Google Classroom. We will welcome you with open arms. You will receive an invite every week as to resources from the teacher. We'll tell you the focus book. We also have an online bookstore, so we'll tag those books of the month there. It's just a really great time for community because, again, as I said earlier, your kids need relationships. And the cool thing is that you get to see just the relationships forming, even though it's virtual. The kids get excited about it. We do interactive crafts and activities. They look forward to seeing each other each month. We do activities in between the month, so families are able to connect as well. And so again, this is a way that we're able to provide for your family to help you during these times. And last but not least, we also offer e-learning academic support, in which I have tutors who customize their lessons in a way that best support the children that they're serving. It is customized by working with not only the parent, but their classroom teacher to make sure that the skills are aligned. We also do progress monitoring. We also have very flexible scheduling. We have payment plans for all of our packages. It's virtual because to make it accessible and safe for everyone. But then also we've seen so many of our participants make tremendous academic gains. It warms my heart to get reports from parents of kids who are now on honor roll, or who are more confident now, or who are, gaining skills. Because some of the things our kids are struggling with, they need that one-on-one, right? And the remote learning has not been that for them. And I also have partnerships with other organizations who are doing work with children throughout this time as well. And so again, e-learning academic support is something we offer. You can also go to our website to learn and get more information. I truly, truly hope that this time has been beneficial, that you have learned and you feel like, man, this is really helpful for me as a parent. I'm going to look in the chat to just kind of see what is what people are saying. And if you have any questions or specific questions for me, I have no problem to answer it now. So I'll just kind of pull up some of the comments that I see on the StreamYard. Yes, so true. Those relationships and social peer connections are so important for kids. Yes, they are. I mean, I think the biggest thing that I have learned during this time is that, yes, our kids can't get together as they normally did, right? They can't go to each other's houses readily as they did, and go to, like, my son was in swimming, he did basketball, and so he's asked for that, and we just aren't doing that right now. But it does matter. And so I don't think that change means absence, right? This is a different time that we're in, but that doesn't mean that we just all of a sudden just cut off relationships because you can't go to the park, you won't see none of your friends. No, we've been creative when it comes to relationships as well. There are different times where, because of Zoom, right, we can be Zoomed out because of meetings, but we've used Zoom as a way for him to connect with his friends. So sometimes I'll have he'll get on Zoom with some of his friends. They're playing video games together, right? Or it's an opportunity for them to see each other. They haven't seen each other in a while. So yes, relationships and social peer connections is so important. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sam. It was fantastic. I really hope that this was helpful. My hope is that you will join us for future programming. We will be doing more lunch and learns. I will be doing actually this Tuesday with my podcast, Remix and Narrative. We are having a whole conversation about reimagining education. Because what I also think, you all, and I get it, we want school to be back as normal, right? And I think from multiple reasons, but I will argue some stuff needs to change anyway, to be honest. We need to pause and rethink and revise because um, some stuff wasn't working before the pandemic. That it has just been magnified because of the pandemic. I mean, some of the teaching practices are outdated. Some of the curriculum that we're holding our kids to is not supportive and best suiting and helping them anyway. We're learning that through remote learning, do I really need to be on a computer and be in a classroom for 8-9 hours a day? Okay. Standardized testing is not a very valid way of measuring mastery. Teachers are held accountable in a way in which is, I personally think, unethical because we go to school to learn and make things creative and connect. And then now you're holding my job, connected to the standardized test, which matters. And I understand you got to have something as a reference, something that's a guide, but it's not the Bible. It ain't the only way kids master. And that's why I love teaching science, because I do a lot of performance based assessments. So they demonstrate their learning to me. Kids can show mastery in so many different ways. When we only make it come to a test, we're not able to see their full potential. Like your child. Your child is not that worksheet. I need y'all to understand that. Your child is not that worksheet. It is okay if they did not finish Khan Academy. That's not the only way they can show you if they master multiples. Have them count money. Go to the grocery store. Have them have to do the checkout and go to the line. When you're putting together your budget for the house, show them how to do that. Teach them about stocks and bonds. Teach them about real statistics. A lot of times when we think about the curriculum and data that is being used to really measure our kids, I just don't think it's right. And so y'all see I'm about to get on one of my tangents. But yes, I just think the things I want us to really leave from this talk is about mindset. What really matters? What are the best ways you can support your child right now? Giving them a safe space, giving them stability, making them feel like they're growing in any area. It doesn't matter how small or big, and communication. Do those 4 things. And we're going to go forward in the next upcoming workshops. I will have specifically design workshops for reading, for if your child is a diverse learner, for math, for just all different types of series of workshops going forward. But if we all agree that the main thing, is our kids safe? Are they feeling loved? Do they have a community that supports them? Are they stable? Do they feel like they can speak up about things? If our kids are there, then the sky's the limit. Okay. I love you all, whether you watch this live or you see the replay. Thank you for taking the time to listen and tune in. If there's any future topics that you would love to see covered, put it in the chat, because I will definitely consider that. If there's any future topics you would like me to discuss on my podcast, put in the chat, and let's grow together. Let's grow. I'm a part of your village. You're a part of mine. We will together make sure that each of our children thrive and they grow during this time. And I love you. Have an amazing, amazing weekend.